please find your seats so we can get this going, this wonderful event. Y'all so quiet. I know it's not gonna take long to find seats because they're right there. So, wow, this is a wonderful day. I can't play to speak because I don't like talking about people, but because I know you all, I think I'm a little more comfortable. But this has been a long time coming. Yeah. Latreya first told me she was gonna write a book. I was like, oh, okay. And then to actually watch her, doing it, and taking time, it took her over a year for to finish it because she had to find, her spirit had to speak to her. So that's not something you just sit down and write. It happens when it happens, and it happens. So we are here, and I'm so happy that this day has finally come. I'm so proud of you. But I'm so proud of you. I watched you grow. I watched you grow since we've been together, and I watched you grow in this year. This time last year, if anybody knows us, this time last year was very trying for us. It was a very sad time. And a year later, look at us. I always tell people, I don't know if I've said it to anyone here, but whenever you're going through problems and I see it on Facebook or something, I might inbox you and tell you this too shall pass, because that's my favorite out of this too shall pass, because I believe that. Sometimes I don't believe it when it's happening, and I have to remind my own self, but I do know this too shall pass, because things pass. And we are here celebrating you today and your wonderful book, Beauty Beyond. Beauty from Ashes. I'm nervous, I'm sorry. Beauty Beyond, Beauty from Ashes. And I just want to celebrate you today. I hope you're enjoying today and enjoying your friends. And this is a very lovely event. I'm glad you all showed up. Thank you so much for showing so much love. Again, we have wonderful harpist, Melanie. We have Aaliyah and her beautiful artwork. We have one piece left. Yes. There she is right there. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my friend, Ronnie. Can you come on be with me, please, Ronnie? Thank you so much for everything you've done today. All right, here we go, Ronnie.
You have to excuse my shades. I had a procedure on my eye on Thursday, so if it starts blinking, just look at the other one. So, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Yeah, we're so happy to be here. So when Treya asked if I would do the introductions for this grand occasion, I felt so honored that she asked me. I smiled from ear to ear. I was so excited, I totally forgot how much I hate to speak in front of people. And I started sweating like a Baptist preacher when she asked me. But I had to pull up my bootstraps, think about why I was so excited about this grand occasion. My sis friend Cuz is presenting her first published book. So here I am. The interviewer for this afternoon is Eliana Bullock. Some know her as, am I too far away? Okay. Some know her as a podcaster. Some know her as a poet. Some know her as an enthusiast. And some know her as Pastor L. I know her as my person, which is my wife, Eliana Bullock. Give her a hand. She's ready to do it this evening. And lastly, Latreya Monteiro, life coach, blogger, podcaster, public speaker, health advocate, genealogist, crystal guru, business owner, maker, mother, wife, sister, daughter, friend, and the best nunchucker I know. And now, an author. Latreya dared to examine her past, her trauma, and her trials. Her book is evidence of her triumph. Please stand to your feet. I know we're not in church, but please stand to your feet, if you can, and give a round of applause for Latreya Monteiro.
Y'all can be seated.
Look, if you knew me back then, those words wouldn't even come out my mouth. But for God. So 2 years ago, I told my wife, no, let me go back. Years ago, when my boys were little, I wanted to write a book, and my oldest son, Dayon, and I just had a conversation, and he was like, yes, I remember you had this pink journal you used to write in all the time. And so from being a child, I always wanted to write, but I didn't know what to write about. So years ago, I got this laptop, and I'm gonna write about these lesbian Sex in the City girls, and I'm gonna do this and do this. And none of that came to fruition. And 2 years ago, the spirits of writing hit me again. And I said, God, what am I gonna write about? And in one of my prayer meditation sessions, God said, write about yourself. Because you are a testimony that your past does not define you. Your trials do not dictate who you are. And where you start does not determine where you finish. So Beauty from Ashes is definitely a testimony of where I've been, not just myself, but the pandemic, and I'll read more about it in the book, but the pandemic caused a lot of us to do a lot of things. For me, it was a call for me to sit down and really take inventory of who I was. I knew who I was as far as my parents and my grandparents, but beyond that, I only heard stories. And the stories that I heard, not unlike many of you, were not pleasant. You know, we as people of color, black people, we come from pain, we come from struggle, we come from trauma. And in order to fix us, we have to identify the source of that trauma, and we have to heal it. So this book was healing for me. And I pray that it's a healing for whoever gets a hold of the book. I talk about a lot of things in the book. I talk about my upbringing. I talk about trauma that I experienced, but I also talk about joy. Because through triumph, through the trauma, there's joy at the end of all of it. So this was not for nothing. In writing the book, not even in writing the book, in going through life, I often ask myself, or ask God, why me? In writing the book, God answered, why not you? Why not you? So thank you all for supporting my book. My pre-orders, I sold over 30 pre-orders, so thank you all for ordering the book. I'm happy to announce that you will not be able to order the book directly through me anymore because I'm no longer going to the post office, but you can go on barnesandnoble.com, and order the book, and you can also go to walmart.com and order the book. So, I have some books here for sale, which I will sell and sign them for you after the event. But after that, y'all gotta go to Barnes and Noble. Lady at the post office on me like every day for like 2.5 weeks, and I was like, this is my last trip, I promise. So thank you all for being here. Thank you all for supporting me. Thank you all for just pouring into me. Every single person in this room, buying a book, listening to my conversations, being on the phone with me when I'm going through, watching me go crazy, waking up at 5 o'clock. Like my wife would wake up at 4:30 in the morning, and I'm in the office typing because Spirit would just hit me just a tight. So just thank you all for being here. My friends from 25 out to 5. These people knew me when I was like in middle elementary school. My sister, my wife, my son is here, my firstborn, Keisha, like everybody. I can't call out everybody. Y'all all are here because y'all love me, and I love and appreciate each and every one of y'all for being here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and
Right, so I read the book once, and then I had to go back and read it again, because I had to process this thing. And I think for me, the first thing that came to mind was like, why this, right? Why beauty from ashes? And Trey and I had a lot of conversation, but I wanted to give you the space to unpack that. Why that title for this work?
So Beauty from Ashes is something that I have said years and years ago, but never knew what the meaning of it was. So as part of my walk through my recovery from trauma and just coming into this space and accepting my purpose, of course, you and I again have had these conversations, led me to look up what Beauty from Ashes was, and it's actually a Bible verse, which I will read it. And it's in the book, and it says, it's Isaiah 61:3. And provide for those who grieve in Zion, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. They will be called oaks of righteousness, a planting of the Lord for the display of his splendor. And when I look back and I reread that Bible verse, that describes me. I experienced a lot of trauma, but instead of wallowing in it, I use it as a source to help other women heal through their trauma. We've all gone through stuff. We've all experienced things, but those things do not define us. And we have a choice every day. Either we're going to wallow in our pain, or we're going to get up and walk through our pain. And so there were years where I chose to wallow in my pain, but God said, that's not what I put you here for. I didn't let you go through all of those things for you to wallow in. I need you to get up and walk so you can show other people that they can walk through their own pain. So that's how the Beauty from Ashes came about. And then my editor was like, okay, we got to do something with the second part. So that's how the Journey to Purpose came about. So.
Love it. And when you were, and I love the Bible text, you know, I love that part. But when you were writing Beauty from Ashes, did you ever think about who the audience would be?
I wrote it to myself. I wrote it to the voice that I wish I would have heard when I was going through the things that I was going through. So I wrote it for myself, and in essence, I wrote it for other women who look like me, other women who abandonment, or just questioning their why. So at the end of the day, when I look at the audience or who I wrote that book for, I wrote it to myself. It was a love letter to myself.
That part.
Yeah.
A love letter to yourself. Yeah, I like that. I like, oftentimes we learn how to love everybody else before we learn how to love ourselves. So I like that. The next thing I want to talk about is your wife's forward. It was a sentence that she said in there that really just took me out. It said, I would feel so many emotions because this time the story is hers. How does it feel to have broken the chains of everyone else's story to get to the point you can write your own?
So my sister knows this. We are bookies. Like from when we were little, we always had books in our house. So I've read everybody. I have read Terry McMillan. I have read Donald Goins. I have read Iceberg Slim, Maya Angelou, Toni Morrison. The list goes on and on and on. And as a child, when I talked to my mom about how I was, one of the things she said to me was like, you always like to read and write. You wrote and you read all the time. Like I would read the encyclopedia and my dad would be like, what are you doing? I read the encyclopedia. Why? Because it has words in it and I want to know what these words are. So I always aspire to want to write, but because when I look at my environment, it's like, don't nobody want to hear what I'm writing. And what am I going to write about? Like nobody wants to hear from a girl who grew up in Paradise. Nobody wants to hear anything from a girl who grew up in Carpenter's, 25 Alistair, J Street. Like nobody wanted to hear from me. So, and being able to accept that God wants you to write. It's been your purpose for so long. You want to heal other women. This is how you do it. So in doing that, oh my God, I felt so good. I felt so free. I felt so full, and I felt accomplished. I felt accomplished because I felt like in life there was so many things that I wanted to do, but I never finished. I finished it. I finished it.
Yeah, you did it. You did it. Yeah, you did it. What I got, like the last sentence, you asked a lot of journal prompts. And I went through all the journal prompts, and I got a whole nother journal for that, but I went through all the journal prompts. And what I took away from it is that you were teaching me, do what you can with what you have, but never stop evolving. Like I felt that throughout every story, it was like a but at the end. So you have trauma, then you have but, and the but erases what's before it. So how does it feel right now that you've broken the chain?
Like that. Like a release. Like I can breathe. Like it's out there. And the but God. But I woke up this morning. But I survived. But I did that. The but is proof of life. The but is proof that every single day is an opportunity to live, walk, and breathe in your purpose. When there's a period, is when there's a problem. But for that but, every single day I get up and I'm like, all right, God, it's me and you. We got to do this. And I sit every morning and I talk to God. I'm like, okay, I got that but and that comma, and what's coming after that? What's coming after that? So that but for me is purposeful. That but for me is empowering and it's inspiring. And just to be able to just break just the chain of trauma, just the chain of, a lot of us don't dwell or go back into our family history because of fear. Releasing that fear and accepting that these things happen to our ancestors. These things happen to our grandmothers. My great-grandmother was 12 when she had her first child. 12. And in the book I asked, how did she feel not even giving birth, but creating that child at 12? We never know because we never asked the question. We never asked the question. So me writing this book was releasing fear of getting the answers. And once I was not afraid to accept the answers, like none of us are perfect. Our parents weren't given a book on how to raise children. I wasn't given a book. We all make mistakes, but in order to fix our history, we got to go back through it. We got to research it. We got to see, okay, what cause ain't just start with you. We inherited a lot of mess. And we have to get to a point where we're like, all right, I'm tired of this mess being passed to me. I got to the point where I was like, okay, I passed some of the mess on to my children. I can't pass the mess on to them anymore. I can't allow them to take my mess, my mother's mess, my grandmother's mess, my great-grandmother's mess, my great-grand. It's got to stop. And so in writing the book and talking to my son today, it ain't stopped completely, but we paused it with this line. We put a pause in it with this line. So
I like that, you put a pause in it. So now to get into the book, now y'all, I will not go through all these post-its, I promise you, but I'm gonna go through a couple of them, so bear with me. The first one, you made a statement, and I'm not gonna read the whole book because y'all need to buy it and you haven't bought it yet. You said, I was taught to be silent about my joys and pains. And what I wrote next to that is a weapon, not a tool, and it was aimed at me.
Our mother, God bless her, did what she could with what she had. And she would tell us she loved us, but it was followed by a but. And so I got tired of going to her with things that I expected at an early age. I learned that I'm not gonna get from her what it is I want, so I'm just gonna be quiet about it. We all grew up in a household, I'm sure, where what happens in this house stays in this house. So when you got, excuse my French, when you got your ass whooped in the house, You ain't go to school and talk about, my mother just beat me because this, that, and the other, so we were told what happens in this house stays in this house. When your parents argued and fought, or a bill didn't get paid, or the lights got cut off, you didn't go to school and tell that you ain't had no lights or no food. What happens in this house stays in this house. So I was programmed at an early age that just be quiet, be quiet. And along with that is children are seen and not heard. Children are seen and not heard, and there's so much value in listening to a child speak, but we didn't learn that because so many times we were told, go somewhere, sit down and be quiet. Go somewhere, sit down and be quiet. And so I learned how to be silent about my joys. When I read a book that I was so happy about, and I would be like, oh, and I read this book and I got a wonderful grade on it because I did so good, and I would come home and it would, go sit down. I'm cooking dinner, I'm on the phone, I'm doing this, go sit down. So my joys became silent because it's like, okay, so who do I share my happiness? Who do I share these wonderful things with? And then it being quiet with those things when the sexual abuse came or the molestation came, it's like, okay, well, I've been quiet. So why am I gonna say something about it now? Okay, so I'm just gonna be quiet. So I carried that silence through an abusive relationship. I carried that silence through painful things that I experienced. I carried that silence through nights where I was like, why me, Lord? But I got up the next morning, put my cloak on and my cape, and I went to work, and I was strong, the strong black woman, and I did what I thought I was supposed to do. And so that silence killed me in a way. It deteriorated me. And when I looked in the mirror when I was silent, I hated what I saw. But I had to be what I saw so people can be like, girl, you look good. Girl, you did that, girl, yes, yes, you celebrate you. But in the inside, I was silent, I was broken, I was empty, and I was pained. But because I was taught to be silent, I had nobody to talk to about it. So I carried that silence through pregnancy, through relationships, through friendships, through familiar relationships. Like I carried that silence, and I just got tired of being quiet. I just got tired of being quiet. So now I'm loud, I'm gonna talk, ain't nobody gonna tell me to be quiet. People gonna be upset about some things I wrote in the book. Sorry, not sorry. It is what it is. And you know, I'm at the point in my life now, I'm almost 50, thank you God, where I have learned to accept that my voice has a purpose and that silence doesn't exist here.
Yeah, I love that. Your voice has a purpose and your mask does not.
No.
All right. There was another one that I wanted to get to, and then I'm gonna release because I can go through this whole book. You said something about maintaining promises, and this was huge. When we made, and I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna read it because y'all gonna buy the book. But when we maintain promises to unhealthy connections simply because we made a promise. And what I got from this is we're maintaining promises to the connections that didn't warrant the commitment in the first place.
Yes, absolutely. We remain in not just romantic relationships, but we remain in friendships, we remain in business, we remain connected to people because I made a promise to you. I promised you that till death do us part. Damn the black eye, but till death do us part. I promised you I would be there for you through these relationships, but you still with this person that treats you like trash. But I promised you as my friend I was going to. So we have to learn that there are times that, you know, and I don't like to use the word renege, but there's sometimes where we have to reevaluate our promise. We have to reevaluate. If I promise that I'm going to be there for you in a marriage, so death do us part, through good and bad. Let's be honest. When you're waking up, and I'm speaking from personal experience, and you're waking up and you're sitting at your office and you got bruises on your arm, and you got scratches on your body, and you're wounded from a fight from the night before, when does that promise now end? Where's the promise to you that I'm going to take care of me, I'm going to protect me, I'm going to make sure I'm okay, I'm going to make sure, where's the promise to your children that your children don't have to see you endure that? But we would rather uphold a promise to somebody who does not deserve us than to uphold a promise to God and to our children and most of all to ourselves. So I realized through a tumultuous relationship that I was upholding a promise to somebody who didn't give a damn about me. But I gave a damn about her, and in giving a damn about her, I allowed myself to be
diminished to nothing. Like my kids, my oldest son could tell you, I would lock myself in the room. One weekend he called my sister, and this is not in the book, but we got into it. My ex broke up with me, told me she didn't want to be with me no more. I locked myself in a room for 2 days with a bottle of Cherry Noir Grey Goose. The kids banged on the door. They fixed me breakfast. I would not open the door. They called my sister, and my sister came over, and I was a hot ass mess. A hot mess. My sister came over. She said, "Take a shower and go for a ride." I drove to Enid's grave, and Enid was one of my best friends when I was in the military. She died from breast cancer. I drove to her grave. I went out there. I laid down, and I cried. Because I was like, how in the hell did I get here? How? Because I made a promise to somebody. I promised somebody something. And they took my promise and destroyed it. And left me empty, left me unable to mother my children, left me unable to just be me, and left me unable to even recognize the purpose that God had in my life. And so, when she broke up with me, I did go through the, oh my God, I can't believe it, but when I finally realized, it's like, girl, what is she crying for? She gone. She's gone. And now that promise that you made to her, girl, make that promise to yourself. Like all that energy I poured into that relationship, and many of y'all know the relationship I'm talking about, I'm not gonna call no name, but I poured into that relationship for over a decade. And I got nothing from it. I walked away with nothing. But it taught me never ever promise somebody else something that you can't promise yourself. And in that, that started my healing. That started my healing.
Yeah. I like how you said the word renege. In spades, there are two people on the team.
Yeah.
So baby, if we renege, you had a part of that too. It wasn't just me. So you had a part of that too. The last thing I want to, it is about that relationship. You made this one sentence, I had failed. And I see that as a recurrent theme. Even if the release looks like torture, you haven't failed. It's a release. And oftentimes, because of that promise, we're not the ones making the release.
Right, yeah. And so, and I've had this conversation, and it's so funny to me. It's like, in that particular relationship, I endured so much, and I accepted so much from this person, and I would call my girlfriends, and girl, I'm leaving. I'm about to pack my stuff when I get home, and they listened, and then finally they was like, hey, girl, if you won't get off my phone, like, you ain't going nowhere. Like, you're there. Like, you've seen the mess. Like, you've seen the mess. You lived in the mess. And then I endured the mess, and then when the person said to me, I'm leaving you, I can't do this no more. I was like, what the hell? How dare you leave me? I done sat here and put up with all this shit from you, and then you gonna tell me you leaving? Like, how dare you? How dare you? And now I can look at that and say, how dare you be strong enough to say, I can't do this no more? How dare you be strong enough to say, I refuse to go on any additional years in this mess? How dare you put you first? And so I learned in that relationship, not at that time, because you know how we are, but in that relationship, when I reflect on that, I thank her. I thank her for releasing me and giving me the opportunity to realize who I was. And so when I write about the things about that relationship in the book, I'm not saying that out of malice. It taught me a valuable lesson. It really did teach me a valuable lesson that, you know, I gave my all to this person. And in giving my all to them, I emptied my cup. Like, I poured into this person so much, my cup was like bone dry. But you couldn't tell, because I was cute on the outside. Like, I was fabulous on the outside. Like, you couldn't tell any of that. And I would go home on Friday nights, and the kids would joke at me like, Love Jones or Players Club? Which one you watching tonight? Because we know that's your routine. Because she would be gone, and I would just be in the house like, all right, y'all play y'all video game. I'm gonna be drunk on the couch with my bottle and a half of wine. I'm gonna eat my pizza and my cheesesteak. And when I look back on that, it's like, oh my God, I was I'm surrounded by so many powerful, beautiful women who could have helped intercept, but I was silent. I was silent because I'm like, nobody want to hear this from me. They always hear it. Nobody wants to hear it anymore. And I'm not going to tell them, so I'm just going to sit here and drown it in this, at that time, this vodka, Tito's and cranberry with 3 limes and just call it a day. But, I mean, I just,
But you broke that chain. Like it's done.
it's done.
Yeah, that's sealed.
That's sealed.
Yeah, that's not.
I had moved beyond. I woke up this morning and we were in the house. My mother's talking about me, yeah. And my wife was like, you did it. It's here, you did it. It's like, I did it. I did it. Like, I don't know where God is taking me through this. I'm ready. Whatever God has for me in this, I'm ready. I know I'm surrounded by a village of wonderful, amazing people who got my back, who are going to keep me grounded. But in breaking the chain, it's a release. It's a release because I don't have to be quiet no more. I don't have to be grief-stricken no more. I don't have to be filled with guilt. Is somebody gonna find out? Is somebody gonna say something? Like I'm free. Like every word I wrote in that book, like I said, it's gonna upset some people, but I don't care. It's history. It's part of who I am. It's part of who we are. And it is what it is. It's my truth. It's my story. Nobody else can tell it. Nobody else can take it from me. It is mine. God gave it to me for a reason. I'm able to share it without fear. And I'm just grateful for the space that I am in my life right now. I'm grateful.
Yeah. And I'm grateful you dared to write a story to yourself that will also resonate with so many other women. Because a whole lot of us have been to hell and back.
Yeah.
Okay, and we have to admit it. We didn't put a pen to paper because sometimes we're afraid to read what we've been through.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we haven't healed from what we've been through. So I just want to thank you for breaking your chain and setting some other people free too.
Thank you.
I really do. I really do. So now I turn it over to you.
Okay. So, my first book, Beauty from Ashes, A Journey to Purpose. 2 years in the making. So I'm not going to read the whole book, but there's some books back there for purchase. But I'm going to read a couple of excerpts. I'm not going to read a whole chapter, but I do want to read a couple of pages. Hey girl, hey. This pandemic is a hot ass mess. I say is because when I started this book, we were still living through it. It created chaos for some and calm for others. It pushed a lot of us into sadness, and for others, it was a period of grounding. For me, it was a combination of all of these. It also propelled me to discover who I was at my core, to uncover my identity beyond being my parents' middle child. The shutdown had me all over the place mentally and spiritually. Ancestors speaking to me, traumas tapping me on my shoulder, and healing calling me by my name. To whom do I answer? All of them. One by one, I answered them all. The trauma had several names: abuse, abandonment, and lack of self-love, esteem, and worth. The ancestors were asking me to carry forth their dreams. The healing was begging to come forth in truth. In each of them, I found my healing. My God, the feeling of being free and released is a powerful one. I am not a psychologist or psychotherapist. I am an everyday woman. Correction. I am a queen. I didn't always consider myself one though, but after surviving and now thriving through the traumas life has inflicted upon me, I can proclaim that yes, I am a queen. My life has never been an easy one. When most people hear my story, they respond, girl, you are so strong. I don't want to be viewed as strong. I want to be vulnerable. I want the world to view me as someone who has had to endure and all. I don't want the world to view me as someone who has had to endure and always overcome. I want to be joyful, melancholy, excited, sad, quiet, accomplished, graceful, relaxed, hard, and soft. Don't label me. Simply let me enjoy every aspect of myself. Let me explore every fiber of my Black girl joy. Another thing the pandemic pushed me to do was to return to therapy. I was no stranger to it, but I hadn't explored it since 2009. With all that was happening with me and the world, I decided it was time to return. A few weeks into my sessions, my therapist asked me when the book was coming out. What book? I asked. Yours, she responded through our virtual session. You've been through a lot and your story can help other women heal. I believe part of that statement to be true. I had been through a lot. Lots of dysfunctional shit. Name it, and I bet I can check it off my did that, got the t-shirt list. Sexual abuse, daddy issues, mommy issues, abandonment, welfare recipient, stripper, sexual identity battles, single mom, imposter syndrome, and let's not forget, domestic and emotional abuse survivor. See, I told you, a lot. Honestly, I wasn't planning to write a book, yet here I was, sitting at my laptop and looking at the outline staring back at me and thinking, what do I want to share? And would others want to know my story? As I stared at the screen, I began reflecting on my life, every trial, tribulation, and testimony. This reflective time showed me that I shared similar traits with my parents, not just visually, but also in my makeup, my personality. Through a renewed lens, many conversations with my mother, and remembering my history, I found a common thread: dysfunction. Dysfunction, by definition, can mean many things, but as it pertains to my family, it's the block in the function of the family system. After admitting there was dysfunction, I next discovered the role that silence has had to play. Somewhere along the line, I was taught to be silent about my joys and my pains. Staying silent keeps us sick. Did you know that? Holding secrets destroys us from the inside out. We often hold in the deepest, darkest things. On the outside, we look fine, but baby, on the inside, we are crumbling. A beautiful disaster, barely holding it together. And why? Because at some point, someone said to us, what happens in this house stays in this house. This is where I and many others learn to hide. And then I'm gonna finish. So jumping ahead, the silence became loud, almost deafening during the pandemic. I was drawn to it though. I needed to know who I was beyond the silence. As those puzzle pieces came together, they started coming toward me. My ancestors started communicating with me, sending me messages through dreams and meditations. I close my eyes and see trees and hear the water and feel the calm. To the internet I headed, armed with my little bit of information, entering my family's name into a database in hopes that I could find out who I was. After some research, I discovered small bits of me. My ancestors were traced back to Edenton, North Carolina, a small town on the Showan River whose population in 2010 was less than 15,000 people. This town provided a maritime escape route to enslave Africans before emancipation. Part of my journey led me here. I needed to see the land and water and feel the air where my great-great-great-grandparents lived. Thanks to online records, I discovered my roots, the names of those whose dreams I carry forward. I'm gonna try not to cry. So, my name is Latreya, and I am the daughter of William and Dora, granddaughter of Ida and Robert, and Dorothy and Cass, great-granddaughter of Roosevelt and William, Nina and Drew, Eldora and Ennis, Annie Mae and Luther, great-great-granddaughter of Downey and Charles, Betty and Nelson, Roxana and Henry, Sarah and Charles, Mary, Eliza and Jacob, Louise and Walter, the great-great-great-granddaughter of Sarah and George, Eliza and Simon, Susan, Clarkie and James, and the great-great-great-great-granddaughter of Eliza, Minerva, and Washington. Here is where my spirit finally began to settle.
I love it. So to close us out, I just wanted to read one last thing. And it's a quote from your book, Beyond Mine. It says, when you're healing, it's necessary to embrace the silence. This space is where you build your strength, your relationship with God. You cannot hear God if you are listening to others. You must get quiet to hear the voice of God. God will not scream over anyone else. You simply will look up one day and notice that the distractions are gone. Thank you so much for showing us how your distractions are gone. Did anyone have any questions they want to ask Treya? I can only be on my heels for a short period of time. Y'all raise your hand and I mean, all right now.
How did I know that she was gonna be the one to raise her hand? In case anyone does not know, this is my younger sister, Tanika.
How'd you?
I don't have a question.
Okay.
Understand?
Don't say it too close. Come over this way so you can get feedback. See, you did.
Okay, I don't have a question, because I was there with you.
Yes.
And I'm not trying not to cry because we're from a family of
Prior.
emotional people. Two things. This is what healing looks like.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Because there were times when my sister and I couldn't even pick up the phone and call each other.
Yep.
Because of trauma. So when I say to you, I'm so proud of you. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. The other thing I want to say is, actually, it's 3 things, sorry. Other thing I want to say is, Daddy's proud of you. Many of you know that this weekend is usually a tough weekend for our family. Thank you so much. Because our father left his physical form at 3:21 April 12th, 2009, which was Easter Sunday. So the fact that you are doing this weekend, I'm sure Dad is rejoicing because you are doing what you have been meant to do for the longest time. And I'm so proud of your sister to stand here with you and watch you revel in it. You earned it. You deserve it. Last thing, Kiva and Deidre and my sister and I, when Living Single came out,
Yes, oh God.
we each picked a character. I did not pick my character, mine was picked for me. Deidre was Max, the Maverick. Kiva was Regine, the fashionista. I was Sinclair because I was nervous.
In case you ain't know.
And my sister was Khadijah, the mother of the group, the writer of the group. As all of you know, Khadijah published Flavor Magazine. She fought hard to publish it, and she got it out. You fought hard to get that book, and you got it out. So to my Khadijah, I love you dearly. I'm so thankful for you, and enjoy this moment. There's gonna be some comments, but who cares?
That's right.
Sorry, that's all. Okay.
Do I look like I have any look at this time?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So with that, I say, take your seat on your throne, enjoy your moment. And that's all I got. And get on.
Anybody else have any questions, concerns, comments? Questions, concerns, comments? Oh, Dean, just wanted to,
I don't need the mic. Congratulations, first of all.
thank you for one office to another.
Yeah.
Gina, you published her book last year.
But, I just recently met you, a couple of months, maybe a year or something, and I follow you, and I follow all your, positive, and I used to tell Sean, she's so positive. I wait for her to put something down, you know, on the internet or on the IG. So I want to tell you that you have inspired me probably more ways than you will ever know. On days when I open my IG and I look and I be having, you know, kind of a rough day or a negative moment. So I want to thank you personally for that. If I've never said that on Instagram. So I can't wait to get into the book because I know it's going to, you know, extend that even more. But my next question is, are you going to keep writing?
Yes, the answer is yes. What I'm gonna write about next time, thank you, sis, for good. Absolutely, yes. I'm going to continue writing. What I'm going to write about, there's so many things that I've experienced and we've journeyed through during this process that have just come to the surface. And one of which, and I can be candid in this room, last year, as my wife mentioned, this time last year was a horrible time for us. My youngest son was missing. We had put out an APB. The world was looking for him. We have since found him. He is an adult, but parenting an adult is a struggle. So that might be the next book. But yes, the answer to your question is yes, there will be a next book. What that looks like, at this point, I'm not sure. What I do know is it's going to be about healing something because we're always healing through something. If you notice, I never use the word healed because there's always something to heal. Whenever something is already, once I put something in the bed, something else comes up. So yes, there will be another. Don't know what it's about, but it's coming. It's coming, yes.
Thank you.
Anybody? Yes. Oh, in case my face, Miss Keita right here. So yes, Miss Keita, that's a question.
First I want to say congratulations and I met Latreya through Melanie and I followed her and like she said, when I'm going through something and I go through her posts or her stories, it does help, you know, and you don't know sometimes how much somebody like me that, you know, you helping others. So I appreciate you.
Thank you.
And another thing I want to know is, your therapist, you know, she said that you need to write a book. Does she know that, you know, that you completed it? Have you shared that with her?
Yeah, so I've changed therapists since then. But she does know because my wife, actually the therapist that I used to see, my wife actually still sees her, but she knows that I did write a book. And going to therapy was a very pivotal part of this process. I know, you know, growing up, we didn't see our family members, we didn't see our parents go to therapy. Therapy is needed, like everybody in this room should have a therapist, not just because you're anticipating things going bad, but just the regular day-to-day, like a therapist is necessary. And so the first therapist I had, my wife introduced me to her and she helped me through the beginning of my process. But then I got to a point where I had to change therapists because that one was no longer working for me. So I found another therapist. Like I didn't just go and be like, well, that's not a therapist for me, so I'm gonna stop going to therapy. Like, no, I found another therapist and this therapist actually works for me. So if you have not found a therapist, go to betterhelp.com, it's not sponsored, but I found a therapist there and she actually is virtual, but I have my sessions with her every week and we sit on video and we laugh and we cry and we go through the whole process. And so my past therapist knows that I wrote a book and my current therapist knows that I wrote a book and they both are very happy and very, very excited because it's a release. It was a release.
So I don't have a question, but I'm gonna let you know the same thing that you get on Facebook and you go to Latreya's page, she has affirmation cards. They are phenomenal. So you can pull them out anytime you want. You don't have to go on Facebook. They're not here.
They're not here, no.
but she does have affirmation cards that are just as amazing. So I'm gonna plug the affirmation cards, I'm gonna plug the book, and I'm gonna plug the website and the link tree. So please visit there.
Thank you. Yeah, I did affirmation cards first. And the affirmation cards are Beauty from Ashes. And they were just things that I would say to myself, or things that, my wife and I would say to each other, or things that just would drop in my spirit that I just decided to put on cards. And so because of the book launch, I revamped them. They don't look like the ones that came out last year. And I was hoping to have them here today, but they were delayed. But they are available, and I will have them on the website. But it's like 56 cards. 52 of them are, just the affirmations that I have, and then there are also fill in the blanks as well. So, thank you. I forgot about cards, but yeah, there's so much. There's cards, there's candles, there's prayer beads. Someone asked me about the prayer beads. I created prayer beads because during starting my meditation and my prayer process, I would lose focus. I would close my eyes and I would go somewhere else. Like I couldn't focus on what it is I was supposed to be doing. So I created the prayer beads as a focus point. So each of the prayer beads is a division of 108, and 108 is the 108 beads is the full circle. Holistically speaking, it's full circle. So any type of division of that, 54 or 27. So some of the beads are 27, some of the beads are 54, but they take you back to the whole number of 108, which is the whole number in the yoga practice. It's a whole number of just prayer. And so I wanted to create something for you to take with you. So I put mine on my wrist. Some people wear them as necklaces. I created a large one for our house, so this one sits on our dining room table. And so it's just a reminder of me to whenever I'm off track or whenever I lose focus, it's a moment for me to get myself back centered. And so I could be on a phone call at work and somebody could piss me off, and I'll just close my eyes and grab my beads and be like, Lord, work through me, Lord, okay, we back. So the prayer beads are here. And then the candles, oh my God, I'm so excited about these candles. So many of you all know that I used to make candles. God had a different direction for my life. So I wrote the book instead of continuing with the candles. But when I wrote the book, I said this, a candle has to go with this. Like there has to be something in your home that when you light it, that it helps you through this healing journey. And so there's a young lady, her name is Selective Selections by She. Her name is Sheila Akins, and she's out of Alabama. When I stopped making candles, my wife and I love candles. I found this wonderful young lady on Instagram. I ordered a couple of her candles, and I was like, oh my God, these are amazing. She uses the same exact products that I used when I was making our candles. So I was like, thank you, God. So I ordered candles from her, and when I wanted to do a candle for the book, I reached out to her and I was like, hey, let's collab. I had this idea. I don't want a white candle. I want a gray or a black candle. It's gotta have the wood wick. And she's like, what fragrance do you want? I was like, I don't know. Let's work on it. So she shipped samples from Alabama, like 6 or 7 candles. We burned candles, and I was like, babe, what you think about this one? What you think about this? Put this in the background. We came up with a candle, and we have the Beauty from Ashes candle. And so they are here, limited edition. Some have already sold. The shelf looks looking for this. But there's some more. But yeah, this whole process has just been absolutely amazing. It's just been absolutely phenomenal for me. For me, it's just been a healing journey. It's been a cleansing. It's been a release. It's been a moment where I have laid in the bed and I've been like, Lord, I can't do this. And God's like, yeah, you can. You did all that, so you do this. So thank you all for supporting me. Thank you all for being here. If I have not said it enough, just pouring into me, letting me know what God has already told me, that I am enough, that I am worthy, that I deserve all of this, that this was mine, but I had to realize that it was for me. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Thank you to my wife. She met me at a time where I had gone through my cocoon stage.
if you buy the book, you'll understand what the cocoon stage is. But I had gone through my cocoon stage and I had been okay with me. I was dating me and going out with me and doing all my single girl in the city, sipping paints and happy hours by myself. Enjoy me. And then I invited this woman to a bonfire and the rest is history. And we are coming up now on 5 years of being married in October and 6 years of being together. And through it all, the breakdowns, the shutdowns, the I don't want to talk about it, I don't want to be bothered, like leave me alone. I got through all of that. She has been like, you need some coffee? What you want to have? What's for dinner? You got it right? What are we doing? Like she has been there, and so honey, I thank you so much. Like there's not enough thanking for what you have done, and I say this often. God gave me the purpose, but like when you buy a plant from Walmart and you put it in a certain room in the house and you do everything, and no matter what you do, the environment just does not allow this plant to grow.
Yeah.
Thank you for being the environment that helped allow me to grow. You just put us both in that bonfire, and everybody else that was supposed to be there never showed up. So thank you just for being that environment that helped cultivate me. To my little sister. My mom brought her home from the hospital and she had fruit, and I asked my mother to take her back. Because she cried all the time. This is a story, like I can say that. Like, can you take her back? And she cried all the time. I don't understand. But she turned out to be one of the best crying gifts ever. So, I just want to thank her because we have been through the shit. Okay? Like, we love you, look, okay? But we have gone, like she said, we went through years where we did not speak. We did not talk. Don't call me about my sister. I don't give a good goddamn. I don't care. But God. I called her. We had gone through one of our seasons of not speaking during the pandemic. And I reached out and I was like, we need to talk. We met at a Panera Bread. We went for a walk that morning. And my sister and I met that afternoon. And we talked. And we've been talking. And it ain't always perfect. And it's not going to be. I give her permission to call me on my shit. She gives me permission to call her on her shit. It ain't always pretty, but that is what it is. But we had to break a cycle because of what we saw our mother and her siblings do to each other. We ended up doing that to each other. Not realizing why, but in me writing this book, I realized why. And so I said, I can't do this. Even our older brother, he's not here. So we're, it's 70s babies, yes. So my brother and I are the Wonder Twins, and she's the one. So, but he wanted to be here, but he called me on the way here, and the phone rang, and Dee was like, it's your brother calling. She's like, she's like, because we do this all the time. And I was like, all right, I'm answering the phone, and he was like, sis, I'm proud. And I want to tell you congratulations, and I hope you have a good day. And even him doing that and me answering the phone is a big step in our relationship. And so he ain't even read the book, but within the last year, he and I have healed our relationship. And so it's just, and me and my mother, oh my God. That relationship, my sister will tell you, me and my mother fought. And when I say fought, I'm not talking about with words. Like my mother jumped on the bed one day and we were swinging and she bit me and left a teeth print on my chest. Like it was bad. I could not stand my mother. I did not want to be around this woman. But on my birthday, I called her and we cried on the phone and we prayed. If you would have told me when I was 16 that at the age of 49 I was going to call Dory, Elaine Manning, Willa Manning, and talk to her on the phone and have a prayer session, I'd have called you a liar to your face because that was never our relationship, but God. It is a work in progress. Again, not perfect, but it is far from where it used to be. And she wanted to be here, and I wish that she was. I'm kind of glad she's not, because we've been living in a high crime mess. But the relationship with her has grown significantly. And last but not least, and I'm a cry, on Good Friday in 2009, we were sent into the hospital, and the doctor said, he's not going home.
My father had been unconscious. And he sat up. He said, I'm ready to go home. And my mother said, yes, y'all heard him. He said, you ready to go? My cousin said, He said, well, home, he was ready to go too. And at 2 o'clock in the morning, on Easter Sunday, my mother called us. She was in the hospital, and we were in the house. And my mother is a hell raiser, okay? She not gonna let you sleep. She not gonna let you do nothing in her house. You won't hear her. She was at the hospital, and we were at her house. My brother, my sister, my kids, my brother's kids, we were all at his house, at their house. And before the phone rang, this cold came. And I was sleeping on the couch. And one by one, I was in the living room. I woke up. My brother was in the middle room. He woke up. My sister was in the back room. She woke up. And then the phone rang. And we knew. We got the call. We didn't say nothing. We were silent on the radio. We rolled and we looked in the sky. And this cloud followed us all the way to the hospital. We didn't say nothing. We went upstairs to the hospital room. The sign was on the door and we knew. And we just walked in there. The three of us, we didn't say a word. We just rubbed his feet. Just rubbed his legs. And my brother and my sister walked out. And the nurse came. And she said, I'm getting ready to wash him. I said, okay. And she said, you want to step out? I said, no. Step right in. And she said, are you sure? I said, yeah, I'm going to help you. She said, okay. And then at the funeral, we all went up before they did the final closing of the casket. They closed the casket. And we tucked them in. And we tucked him in, and I stayed in that hospital room because my father worked 2 jobs all the time. He would come home from that last job, and he would come in our room. He would check every single one of us in the bed, because back in the day, we all shared the bedroom. He would tuck all of us in before he went. So before that casket closed, we wanted to tuck him in to make sure he was good before he went to bed. And so the purpose of me doing this on this weekend, like my sister said, this has always been a hard weekend for us. Easter has always been hard. But I wanted to reverse that and celebrate Easter for what it was. A rebirth. A rebirth, a renewal, and a rejoice. So from this day forward, this is not going to be a sad Easter. When we look back on Easter, we are not going to be sad. We are going to remember the fact that Bear's Cub, one of Bear's Cub, wrote a book. After he saw me read the encyclopedia, the dictionary, carry around the book, carry around the snowy day, oh my God, if he had to give me the snowy day one more time, he probably was going to bury me in snow. But Bear's Cub, Latreya and Monteiro. And on the day before Easter, I get to celebrate this in his honor. So thank you, everybody. I'm sorry I made y'all cry. But thank y'all so much for being here. Thank y'all. I appreciate it. My wife had to turn this music back on. I'm about to send some books. There's wine, charcuterie. Melanie is available for people who want to have their own personal playing session with her. There's one piece of artwork left from Miss Aaliyah. This one mine, so Tupac is left in the back. Her prices are here. All the rest of them have already been sold. So just a little bit, I had no idea who this young lady was. We were at dinner about a month ago with her mom. And a couple of weeks ago, her mother started passing around her phone. And she was saying, my daughter paints. And if anybody knows us, we love art. We absolutely love art. And she showed us this. And I was like, what is this? And my wife was like, well, how do we get this? How do we get this? And so her mother was like, she paints. She's an artist. And Big Bell was like, oh, Trey can give her a space. I was like, absolutely.
And part of creating this space for me to share, I wanted to also give other Black women a space to be seen. And we see you today. I see you today. So thank you and walking in your purpose. And I just want you to share a little bit about who you are, where people can find you, because I know you brought 4 paintings in here, 3 of them already up. Look how many people in this room. So once you share your gifts on a larger stage, imagine the amount of people you get impact. So please share who you are and how we can find you and support you from this point.
Hello everyone. My name is Aaliyah. So this is my first art show ever. So I paint as a form of therapy. Like I started because I used to be very sad, stressed out, and this was just a way to get everything out for me. So thank you again for inviting me because I would have never ever did this. These paintings would have stayed right in the basement. So I don't really have a business card or anything, but if anybody is interested, I will give you my number, my Instagram, or anything like that. You can talk to me about whatever you want. We can discuss, negotiate, whatever you like to do.
Today's price is not tomorrow's price. You gotta get it right now. No negotiating.
Right.
And if that price is not for them, it's for somebody else.
Yes.
Your price is your name.
Well, that's it, but thank you everybody. But thank everybody again.
I'm about to get up off me, y'all. And one of the things that I do when we have events is I always utilize or try to utilize Black female-owned businesses. So the charcuterie board is Jack and Rose Co. Yeah. Yes, I got them from Keisha and Peru. And then the cupcakes. Naughty Delights by Amber, she did our wedding, she does our like Valentine's Day treats. She did cupcakes. Y'all already met Melanie. You guys met Kika who did my makeup. Eliana, she has her own podcast, Her Next Chapter. Selective Selections by She the Candles. Oh, and my editor is not here. He is not a Black female, but he is my cousin Jamal. My cousin Jamal, aka Geronimo. But when I told him that I was going to write a book, he is an editor. He has written for TV. He has written screenplays and playwrights. And he said, I'll see what I can do because you know I got a lot going on. And I said, no problem. I just wanted to let you know. Can you send me some editors who I can send the book to? And when I finished the book, I said I finished it. And he said, well, how many words is it? And I told him. He said, send it to me. I sent him the book on a Thursday. Sunday, he had done editing the book. And all throughout the process, he was just emailing me and sending me messages. And he was like, cousin, this is amazing. And why haven't you written? And the one thing he said that me and him laughed about is he said, girl, this one to shake the table. But the table should have been shaken a long time. And so he's not here, but I want to say thank you to my cousin Jamal for taking the time to edit the book, emailing me at 3 o'clock in the morning because he's in LA, and just being a part of this process. If it was not for him, I don't know how we got this book out, but he has just been simply amazing and phenomenal, and he's not here. But I love you, Geronimo, wherever you are, I know he's traveling. Thank you for this. That's my first time. We fought. The 2 of them was like thick as thieves, we couldn't stand it. But yeah, so I'm just grateful, and that's enough of me rambling. You can turn these back on, babe. Enjoy the wine, charcuterie. God bless you.
All right, guys, I gotta get out of here. Y'all hit that like button, share, because they got music that's real loud. I'm out. Hit that like button, share. Peace out.